Hello and welcome, or welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. I have just finished the first volume of Henry Adams's History of the United States. Volume 1 covered the presidency of Thomas Jefferson. And I must say that Thomas Jefferson becomes something of a sympathetic character by the end of this book, simply because everything is falling apart for him, which is kind of nice. He is a bit humbled, if not to say humiliated, by the way events have turned out pertaining to an embargo which he stood behind. I'd just like to read a little bit from the last chapter of this for you. The repeal of the embargo, which received the president's signature March 1st, closed the long reign of President Jefferson. And with but one exception, the remark of John Randolph was destined to remain true, that never has there been any administration which went out of office and left the nation in a state so deplorable and calamitous. That the blame for this failure rested wholly upon Jefferson might be doubted, but no one felt more keenly than he the disappointment under which his old hopes and ambitions were crushed. Loss of popularity was his bitterest trial. He who longed like a sensitive child for sympathy and love left office as strongly and almost as generally disliked as the least popular president who preceded or followed him. He had undertaken to create a government which should interfere in no way with private action, and he had created one which interfered directly in the concerns of every private citizen in the land. He had come into power as the champion of states' rights and had driven states to the verge of armed resistance. He had begun by claiming credit for stern economy and ended by exceeding the expenditure of his predecessors. He had invented a policy of peace, and his invention resulted in the necessity of fighting at once the two greatest powers in the world, meaning France and England. I'll read you a little bit more. Under the weight of these troubles, public and private, he realized he was quite a bit in debt. Jefferson's longing to escape became intense, and his letters repeated in accents more and more earnest the single wish that filled his mind. I shall, within a few days, he wrote February 25th, divest myself of the anxieties and the labors with which I have been oppressed, and retire with inexpressible delight to my family, my friends, my farms, and books. There I may indulge at length in that tranquility and those pursuits from which I have been divorced by the character of the times in which I have lived, and which have forced me into the line of political life under a sense of duty and against a great and constant aversion to it. March 2, he wrote to Dupont de Nemours in stronger terms of weariness and disgust. Never did a prisoner released from his chains feel such relief as I shall on shaking off the shackles of power. Nature intended for me the tranquil pursuits of science by rendering them my supreme delight. March 4th, he rode once more on horseback to the Capitol and stood by the side of Madison while John Marshall administered the oath of office. I will just leave that there. I have to say that in the course of reading this, John Marshall did not come across as a particularly likable guy. To me, he seems redolent of Scalia. I suppose it would be the other way around. He really seemed political in the utmost. I know he has the highest reputation, so maybe I need to pursue his biography a little bit more. Of course, to most people now, we know Jefferson almost exclusively as a slaveholder. So one must take his sense of relief at having the shackles of power removed from him with a grain of salt. So it's taken me the better part of a year. The way I had allotted the time to begin with, I figured it would take me 6 months to do volume 1. So I'm a week or so ahead, which is good because volume 2, which covers the administration of Madison, is about 100 pages longer. So I had started reading 20 minutes per night, and at that rate, with relatively few interruptions, I think it would take me a year to do the 6 months, a year to do the whole thing, but 6 months to do the first book. Now that I realize the second book is longer, I'm glad I changed my plan, because now I just read a chapter a night, and sometimes the reading actually goes very fast. They're only about 15 pages. And I do the full chapter, but then I am taking more breaks here and there. So my speed, my cumulative speed is a little bit faster. So with any bit of luck, without too many interruptions, I should finish volume 2 of Adams's history by the end of the year, at which time I hope to pick up Francis Parkman's story of the British and the French vying for dominance in the North American continent. Anyhow, I recommend this history by Adams very much. I guess it would be, which way is first? Yeah, this way. I just highly recommend it if you're looking to get into the nitty-gritty, day-to-day story of life in America. Adams reports the major headlines. He has raised more questions for me that I will probably never pursue. I really found the story of Aaron Burr fascinating and would love to study that more, but I probably will not return to this period in American history unless there's some odd book out there about Aaron Burr that Steve Donahue recommends super highly. So I will leave this here. Thank you very much for stopping by my channel.